Hi, and welcome to today's talk in the Self-Love Self-Care Summit. Our self-love expert today is Lisa Rachel Snyder here, sharing how to invoke your inner queen with a practical guide to embracing the shadow for greater confidence, wisdom, and sensual magnetism. Lisa, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here, Sandy.
I'm so excited to have you here. You know, we didn't talk about this before already, but it just struck me right now. You and I met years ago, strangely, just in India, of all places, for two people to randomly meet.
Yeah.
And now here we are talking about self-love, you know, after we've both been on these amazing personal growth journeys of our own, come back together.
Yeah.
Except this together is you in Bali and me in Maine.
It's the world we live in now.
It is. All right. So Lisa is a tantric empowerment coach. She specializes in guiding female leaders back to their authentic power, radiance, and joy. And I think that just is so exciting and so juicy when we're getting into this self-love topic. So before we dive into all of that, I have a question for you. And that's, I want to hear your personal perspective on this. And why do you think it's especially difficult for women to practice self-love?
I look at the archetypes, feminine and masculine. And women have both the feminine and the masculine within us, as do men. But generally, women have a little more of the feminine. And that's why we incarnated as women, to really embody the feminine energy, the feminine pull. And the feminine is inherently looking for connection and pleasing and wanting to create love and harmony. And so whereas the masculine is more purpose driven. So women are inherently built in a way where we want to be pleasing to others. And therefore, there tends to be a focus on what other people want and what other people think of us, rather than a focus on our own internal value and anchoring within on that self-love. So that's, to me, why it's a little more challenging for women, because we're more focused on other and creating that harmony and connection with each other in the world.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It's been true for myself and so many of the women that I work with. And I love that. I love that perspective coming from the feminine and the masculine too. It's very illuminating.
Yeah. And it's also so beautiful. I mean, I don't think it's a flaw. I think it's a wonderful thing that we want that connection. You know, it's just recognizing that to find that connection and harmony outside actually starts from within. And that's where I think we get lost. Like sometimes we forget that that's where it starts, and we get so focused on the external rather than going for the internal, and realizing that when we have that internal harmony, when we are loving all parts of ourselves, even the more shadowy parts, even the darker parts, when we're really loving and embracing all of them, then we have that internal sense of harmony and wholeness, and that's reflected in the world around us.
I love that. And this shadow work and loving the dark parts of us. I think that's such a challenge. We see these you know, dark or unpleasant things inside us, and our natural reaction is to draw away. You know, something's unpleasant, I don't want that. So tell us more about shadow work and the purpose of it, and kind of how that relates to self-love, or at least the blocks that get in the way of self-love.
Yeah, this is really the nature of my work, is empowering the shadow, or empowering the dark, because recognizing that light does not exist without dark. So especially in the spiritual community, there's so much focus on love and light and like bliss and everything, you know, but that only exists because we have the contrast. And Osho actually talks about this, that the dark is divine. That's why the dark is divine, because the dark is showing us what the light is. If we didn't have dark, we would just be in this like very neutral space all the time, and we wouldn't experience those highs. when you start to recognize that the dark is divine, then you stop labeling it as wrong and you start to find the gifts in it. And you start to find your power in it. This is something that I lead my clients through all the time, is helping them to integrate their dark, integrate their rage, integrate their grief, their emotions, and step into their power as a result of that. Because when you're no longer shunning and rejecting and shaming those parts of yourself, this is actually self-love. It's radical self-love. It's loving all of the parts of yourself. And that's when you really step into your radiance and your magnetism, because you're just owning all of who you are. You're not ashamed of any part of yourself.
I love that. It's radical acceptance of self, instead of fighting reality, fighting what's actually in there and denying the experiences that you've had, but leaning into them and allowing them and making friends with them, it sounds like, even.
Yeah, exactly. Because when we're rejecting certain parts of ourselves, then they're still there, right? They're still there. If you're like, I'm not going to feel that anger or whatever, sometimes that anger will explode or like come out in leaky ways, or it'll be passive aggressive, or, but when you actually take ownership for it and allow yourself to feel it and recognize it as an energy, it's just an energy. All energy is just, or all emotions are just energy in motion. So when you give it the space to be felt without attaching to it, without labeling it as, this is me, I'm an angry person, I'm rageful, or I'm sad, or whatever it is, it's just an energy that is expressed and moves through you, then it no longer has power over you. And you actually take control again. You take your power back from yourself and you take ownership of your life. And then you begin to trust yourself, because you're not afraid that those energies will leak out and like burn bridges or come out in ways that are destructive. You understand how to navigate them, and you really come into your strength.
Yeah, it's that non-identification. It's that we identify with these things. I'm just this way. I am this person. I'm an angry person. I'm a fearful person. And oh, you're a confident person. I'm not a confident person. Right. That being able to step back and see it and witness it without identifying with it, just creates this space for self-awareness and change.
Or I'm an anxious person. Same thing.
So from the tantric perspective, there's when it comes to the shadow work, tell us about you were telling me before about the archetypes. Can you tell me more about that and how it relates to your shadows?
Yeah. So there are 4 major archetypes that I work with. And so the first one is the light feminine, which many women are in. The light feminine is like the good girl, the sweet, innocent, radiant, beautiful, like charming, delightful, joyful little girl, or princess or maiden. Her shadow is, when she's not integrated, is she becomes a little bit needy. Or the other side of the shadow is the smothering, like kind of latching on because she's not finding her value from within. She's not getting her needs met from within. So many women tend to identify with this particular archetype. The second archetype is the dark feminine. And the dark feminine she's more like the seductress. Like if you think of like Angelina Jolie, she embodies the dark feminine. She's mysterious, she's sexy, she's the siren, she's dangerous. And this is not a negative, but her shadow can get sort of manipulative and dishonest. And she knows how to work her sexual energy, so she'll use it in a way that's not fully in integrity. The third archetype is the light masculine. And the light masculine, again, is within all men and women. So the masculine archetypes they're just archetypes within all of us. But you may, as you listen to these, like whoever's watching, it's nice to kind of like figure out, okay, that's the one I identify with most. So the light masculine is like the do-gooder, the one who, like the savior, the rescuer, the one that like stands up against injustice, likes to make sure everything is in order, likes to fix things. And the shadow to that, however, is rejecting of anything that it deems as bad or unworthy or unjust, and it has a tendency to shame. This is the cancel culture. That's how cancel culture is created. And then the fourth archetype is the dark masculine. And the dark masculine, I think, is the most feared, but it's also the most misunderstood to me. So the dark masculine is like the hunter, the ravisher, the warrior, the one that fights against injustice, the one that you try to hurt his child and he will murder you. And so the shadow to the dark masculine is the violator of boundaries, the rapist, the murderer, the predator. So again, integrating all of these pieces and recognizing that we have all four of these archetypes within us, and they just manifest in different ways. So that doesn't mean that you're a rapist or a predator or whatever, but maybe, like for myself, I went in my process of integrating my dark masculine, I realized that I had a tendency to violate boundaries sometimes energetically, like emotionally or energetically. Like I made my ex-boyfriend talk to me when he didn't want to. I violated his boundaries. He held a strong boundary. And so when I recognized that and I felt the shame around it, allowed myself to feel that shame around it, I was able to take ownership of it and integrate it so that I was no longer acting in that way.
So it's a great tool to bring some self-awareness into your actions. I love these different archetype tools to that gives you a like, oh, aha, yeah, that's definitely me. And I see it. I just kind of, it helps. It's a tool to bring your mind into, oh, that's what I'm doing and that's what I'm feeling. And now you said that first archetype was pretty common among women, and especially women, I imagine who struggle with this self-love. Can you give an example? You gave a great example with the dark masculine. Can you give an example with the light feminine archetype, and how having this awareness and understanding of, oh, that's me. Can you use this lens and this view to help you with self-love and loving your shadows?
Yeah, totally. So I'll give an example from one of my clients. Is Lindsay is very much in this light feminine, where she's really sweet, and actually she tends to like men love her because they see this like innocent girl in her that they want to just like take care of her, like men are really drawn to that. But then what happens for her, and this is something that we've worked through together, is that she gets attached to them and then she starts to feel needy, and then they run away because she's like, she needs to be rescued because she's so deeply in that light feminine and not so integrated in the other parts of herself. So again, it's really about finding this balance and wholeness within all of these different archetypes. But because she's so much in this light feminine archetype, she comes off as a little bit needy because she feels like she needs others, because the light feminine needs to be rescued, right? So it doesn't have the balance, the polarity point of that dark masculine to take care of her. it's in integrating what the work that we've been doing together has been integrating her masculine side and teaching her, reminding her, because she already has this within her, but reminding her how to hold her boundaries and stand up for herself and take care of her own needs. And in doing that and coming more into balance between her light feminine and her masculine, she is stepping into her power more and stepping into a sense of wholeness. So this is really the work that we do together, is like coming more into balance, because when you come into balance within all of these archetypes, you come into a sense of strength and power and wholeness within yourself. And then you actually embody your own sexual power, because the sexual power is what comes out of embodying and integrating these shadows. And then you have this inherent magnetism that it's like this unfuckable withness, you know, like you have that softness of the feminine, that sweetness, that innocence, that delight that people love to be around. And you also have the boundaries, you have the strength, and you know how to take care of yourself and your needs.
Yeah, even just you describing that, it's like, yeah, that's a very attractive combination of qualities.
Yeah, totally.
Whether it's a male or a female embodying those polar qualities, that's the whole package. So it sounds like when you're out of balance, maybe out of alignment, maybe one archetype is shining a lot stronger than others. It sounds like maybe what you end up doing is unconsciously trying to find that balance externally.
Exactly. So you're like, I need a masculine to take care of me. Whereas like, actually, you have that masculine within you. And when you can integrate that within yourself, if you haven't integrated that, you're going to attract a masculine who's unintegrated in his feminine. And so you're going to actually help each other to uncover where you're unbalanced, but that doesn't create a very harmonious relationship. It's a lot of those like really intense love-hate kind of twin flamey relationships, you know? And they're beautiful because they help you see, like they mirror to you where you're not embodied within yourself. But in order to create that divine union, that sense of sacred harmony externally in a relationship, you have to first find that within. And that's the work that I lead my clients through.
Love it. And, you know, it strikes me that I hear a lot, and I know I experience this as well, that when you do that work internally, when you start to find that validation from within, it's almost like the partner that you're looking for just kind of appears. Like, you know, from one perspective, it could be, hey, the universe. But from another perspective, it could be, well, no, I'm now in my own power and I can see that person. I wouldn't have seen that person before. And maybe a change in who you're attracted to.
Totally. It completely changes who you're attracted to. Yeah. And polarity is sexy. Like, and because if you think about like the light feminine, this like sweet, innocent girl within you, she wants to be ravished, like the dark masculine, the one that like takes her and like, you know, and she's like, ah! But that's sexy. And it's great in a sexual context. That's a great thing to cultivate. And you can have that in a sexual context while still having a sense of balance in your everyday life, so that you're not constantly in that like push-pull kind of dynamic.
Yeah, which can get exhausting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now you said something that struck me about your clients. You said something along the lines that, you know, she had it in her, maybe she just didn't see it. And I imagine when we don't have this self-awareness, and we're dealing with, you know, this lack of self-love that happens when we don't have this self-awareness, that it's really hard to trust our intuition, to hear it, to recognize it when we do hear it. So how can you use this work and use these tools or use this self-awareness to trust your intuition, basically?
Mm-hmm. So much of the work that I do is teaching people how to trust their intuition, because that's everything. Once you have that sense of self-trust, then you know how to navigate every situation, and you know what is your truth, you know what is your, that's where the boundaries come from, because you're standing in your sovereignty. You can say, like, this is a yes for me, or this is a no for me. There are a lot of ways to listen to your intuition. I think that the easiest way is to learn how to listen to your body. And I would love to lead you guys through an exercise with that. I mean, I could do it right now if you're interested.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. So first you want to get grounded. And what that means is that you basically like come into your body, and you come into like a sense of safety, because often we find ourselves in our heads, and our minds can like go off and think about the future or the past or what we want to be doing, or the thing that we said that we wish that we didn't say, or whatever it is. But when we bring our awareness into our bodies, the body is always in the present moment. So that brings a sense of safety, a sense of groundedness. So we'll just start with that. So just close your eyes, and we'll just take a couple deep breaths. So inhale deeply through the nose, and then sigh out through the mouth. Inhale calm and peace. Exhale everything that's not serving you in this moment. We'll just do one more like that. Inhale. Exhale, let it all go. Okay. And just bring your awareness to your body now. Noticing any sensations. Maybe there's tightness, maybe there's a pain. Not trying to fix anything, just noticing, allowing it all to be exactly as it is right now. Noticing if there's a change in your body as you allow it to be. Just noticing, just scanning. Just being with what is in this moment. Noticing the temperature of the air on your skin. And now from here, I'd like you to say to yourself, I am female. I am female. And notice what happens in your body. Notice if there's an expansiveness, maybe a tingly sensation, maybe there's a tightness somewhere. Just noticing. And noticing if you interpret that answer to be yes or no, based on the sensations that you're experiencing. And now, say to yourself, I am male. I am male. I'm a man. And notice what happens in your body. Again, do you notice a tightness, a clenching, or a spaciousness, a tingly sensation? And noticing if you interpret that answer to be a yes or a no, based on what's happening in your body. So I know that most people on this call are going to be women, so probably for most of you, when you said I am female, you sensed an expansiveness, an openness, a spaciousness. That's generally a yes. And probably for most of you, when you said I am male, I am a man, you experienced a contraction. Now, this is a tool that you can use in any situation, any yes or no question. So if there's something that's coming up for you, you can ask that question right now. You can visualize the circumstance. So let's say you're wondering if you should go to an event. So you can visualize the circumstance of going to that event and noticing what happens in your body, noticing how your body responds. And then visualizing the circumstance of not going to the event and noticing what happens in your body, noticing how your body responds to that. And you can often get a very clear yes or no answer from your body through this technique. And this is your intuition. This is your higher self telling you what is right for you and what is not right for you. And sometimes the mind has a very different opinion than the body. But when you can learn to listen to and trust the body, it will never steer you wrong. So when you're ready, let's just take a deep breath together and let out one more sigh. And then you can slowly, gently open your eyes.
That was wonderful. I love that tool. To be honest, when you said, I am female or I am feminine, the feeling that resonated with me was this narrow, tall feeling. I don't know what that was. And then we got into male, and expansive was exactly the word that
Wow.
it felt just, whatever the word translation of this is it felt less constrictive. And
Cool.
after going through that, now I realize when you described the light masculine, I think that one, when you were describing it, I was thinking, oh my God, that's my husband. But you know what? Maybe it's a bit me too.
Yeah, we all have it in us, especially those of us who are healers. We all have a very strong desire to do good and to help others. And that's light masculine.
Wow. What a great tool. I mean, I've tried just, something, similar techniques to try to feel, do I want this or do I want that? This was really just very straight, yes or no, straight to the point and easy that anybody can do. And it's just, what do you feel? Versus what do you think? It's almost easier.
Exactly. Like so much of the work that I do with my clients is getting them out because, they're all very smart women. They're very intelligent and they know how to rationalize everything. But sometimes the mind is like messing with you a little bit and like not necessarily, it's often coming from fear and, trying to protect you and doing its best to protect you. But sometimes the body and your like sense of beingness really desires something different. And when you can learn to really listen to and trust that body and come into the body and feel everything that it wants to feel, you become embodied and you become powerful. And your life begins to align with your truth rather than what you think and rather than what is expected of you.
Beautiful self-awareness tool. It's just so simple and you literally don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
It's so easy. Thank you so much. What a great practice. I just want to ask you one last question because we've been through some really, really wise nuggets that you've shared with us, just this really beautiful perspective on tapping into what's going on in here and what am I lacking, how can I come into harmony. But I know there's still somebody watching this who still hears that voice and has that feeling of, yeah, but I'm not good enough and I'm not smart enough and I'm not blank enough. What's your best piece of advice to leave her with?
Well, first of all, like understanding that there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. We think that we need to fix it, but actually that little voice that says, I'm not enough, I'm too much, or whatever, that's very natural. And that's the inner child. That's that little girl inside who's like, I need to be taken care of. Like, I need validation externally. And it's really a matter of learning how to hold that little one inside yourself and be that masculine, or even like that internal mother, and just holding that little child and saying, it's okay, I hear you, I understand why you feel this way, and there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with feeling this way. You're lovable anyway. Not anyway, you're lovable as you are, in your insecurities, in your fears, in your anxiety, in your depression, in your rage, in your grief, in your bliss, in all of it. You're lovable. And just holding yourself through that.
Oh, I love that. It's like just seeing that inner child in you that she needs something. What does she need? And give it to her.
Yeah. So recognizing, what are those needs that I'm not meeting for myself, and how can I give that to myself?
Oh man, what great tools to tap into your power so that you can give that to yourself. I love it. Yeah. So you were telling me about a really awesome new tool and offering you have to share with everybody. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I have a new freebie on my website that is, it's a way to tap into what is your sexual shadow, specifically your sexual shadow, and how can you navigate it? How can you navigate it to come into your power and magnetize your desires, get your needs met in relationship and in your career, in your lifestyle, in all of the things? Because when you're standing in that sexual power, you magnetize everything that you desire effortlessly. So it's a tool to uncover your specific sexual shadow, and you can get it on my website, and I'll give you the link so that they can access that. And also, if anyone is just curious to learn more about what I do in this work, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm posting a lot of content there at Lisa Rachel Snyder. Or if you're feeling this is pretty advanced work. So if you're feeling like you're a little further along on your spiritual journey, and you're ready to dive deeper into this, and you're curious to learn more about how to do that, you can reach out to me directly. You can email me, and we can talk about potentially working together. So yeah, and my email address is hello@lisarachelsnyder.com.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Yes, absolutely. Follow her on Instagram, on Facebook. She's always sharing the most insightful videos. So check her out. She's a beautiful soul. She's got such a wealth of knowledge to share with everybody. Thank you so much for being here and sharing all your wisdom with us.
This is really fun.
All right. Well, thank you, Lisa, and bye, everybody.
Bye.